Black guy?
What's that?
I'm being a stupid black guy?
Are you?
I'm being a stupid black guy?
Are you?
I'm being a stupid black guy?
Are you?
Look at you, you fucking dick. You saw that, right? You saw him hit me first. Get the fuck in your car. Go ahead, bitch.
Bitch.
Go ahead. Drive off. Drive the fuck off.
Yo. Hey, he out, man. Hey, no. He down, man. He down, bro. He down, bro.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live, back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now that this election is finally over, right, and all of these black people are celebrating their victory, whatever they've won, I hope the people don't start losing that energy that they had, because they was telling you, well, you got to go do this to make a change. Well, guess what? The same thing is going to keep happening. But we so badly want to be a part of somebody else's system because it lacks self-esteem. In the moment you start talking about defending yourself, and now especially after the election, all of these excuses and reasons why and how we have to have so much patience is now going to start coming back. But everything in the universe wants to survive and does what it has to survive. But we are the only group of people that make excuses why it's wrong for us to even mention it. And to talk about self-defense is wrong. In Jacksonville, Florida, there was a brother, Justin Reed, who ended up getting shot by undercover police in front of his house just for trying to defend his family. Now, let's go back and see how this brother could possibly be murdered right in front of his own home.
New video obtained by News4Jax shows what led up to two Jacksonville police officers shooting and killing a man on the north side last night. His fiancée gave us these pictures and his name, Justin Reed. He was 34 years old. Police have released a photo of the rifle they say Reed pointed at the officers before the shooting. News4Jax reporter Marilyn Parker is joining us from the scene of the shooting in Panama Park with what Reed's family told News4Jax. Marilyn.
Well, you know, the family says that they recall when they first moved here, they remembered seeing police officers sit in this church parking lot, and the officers would actually walk over to their home that you can see behind me and say, hey, don't be alarmed, we're sitting here. But unfortunately, that was not the case for them last night when they watched an unmarked vehicle pull up in front of their home. The church cameras captured the whole thing, and we want to remind you or warn you, the video you're about to see may be disturbing to some. In an exclusive interview, Shakisha Watson told News4Jax reporter Brittany Moeller the man who police killed in a shooting last night was her fiancé, 34-year-old Justin Reed.
Don't try to make him out to be this monster, because he's not. He's protecting his family. I don't want nobody standing in front of my house, parked in front of my house, and you're not telling me who you are.
We got this video from a church across the street from their home. You see a man walks up to the car holding his rifle. He first leans over the front of the car, looking into the window, then knocks on the hood of the car with the weapon. Then he points it, lowers the rifle, steps back, then raises it again. We're going to slow it down here and show you the movement in the back seat. We see a flash from the back of the car, then a flash in the front of the car, and then muzzle flashes from Reed's rifle. We're zooming past the man going down, but you can see an officer firing multiple shots. Watson says the car was sitting there for 5 to 7 minutes and that Reed could be heard asking questions.
And he said, who are y'all looking for? Nobody said nothing. No police got out and said this is the sheriff's office. No, nothing.
She says in the past, JSO has announced themselves being near their home, and during the shooting, her 3 kids, not with Reed, were inside the house. And coming up at 6, you can hear more from Reed's fiancé on the type of person who she says he was. And we also spoke with News4Jax crime and safety expert Ken Jefferson about this shooting. He watched the video. He says from his view, this shooting looks justified.
Now, all of this started when some undercover cops in an unmarked police car parked right in front of this brother's house. Now, they pulled in his driveway, backed out, and then parked right in front of his driveway, blocking it. Now, it is ironic that the biggest gang in America claims to be investigating other gangs, but these cops was undercover, so they was probably looking like they was about to go put in work. So this brother and this girl see somebody sitting outside of their house. And like any of us are supposed to go do, this brother went out there to go protect his family. Now, that is exactly what you're supposed to do. Not let any harm come to your wife, your children, or anybody. And we really need to be protecting each other as a community, as a neighborhood. But this brother went outside with his gun and he was asking, who is this? Who is this? He wasn't looking to shoot nobody or start no trouble. He just wanted to find out who it was and why they was in front of his house. And it could have been anybody. It could have been somebody plotting to run in his house and harm him and his family. So this brother went up there tapping on the hood saying, who is it? Who are you? What do you want? And then without even identifying themselves or answering them, the police hopped out of their car and started shooting this brother up. Now, they shot this brother so many times, and he was trying to tell his wife to go back in the house as he was getting hit. Now, mind you, they probably still don't even know who it is. But now this brother, who went out there because he feared for his safety and went to go protect his family, ended up getting killed, and they're going to justify it by saying that they feared for their safety.
This is a new picture of a man shot and killed by Jacksonville police in Panama Park last night. Family of Justin Reed say that he was a father. And this is the rifle police say that he was holding while he walked up to an unmarked police car that had officers inside. Action News Jax got this new surveillance video, which appears to show him walking to that unmarked car, appearing to hold something before police got out and then shoot him. We've stopped the video before that. Action News Jax Ryan Nelson joins us live. Ryan, you spoke to his family today.
And John, this family is grief-stricken. Investigators say that officers shot Reed after he pointed his gun at them. Family says that Reed was investigating an unmarked car that was parked in front of his home. New surveillance video shows what happened the moments before a local father was shot and killed by Jacksonville police. The video is grainy, so Action News Jax has highlighted it to make it easier for you to see what's happening. You can see Justin Reed walk up to the car holding a rifle. JSO says officers and detectives were parked inside doing a gang investigation. Reed allegedly hit the officer's car with a gun and pointed it at them. That's when two officers opened fire and killed the local dad.
And he was a wonderful and nurturing man. He was a great father.
Reed's fiance, Shakisha Watson, was too grief-stricken to speak on camera. Family friend Adria Roberts and Jacksonville activist Ben Frazier say Watson and Reed had a wedding date next month.
He sees a car out front, doesn't know who's in the car, doesn't know what they want. He investigates to make a determination, and lo and behold, it turns out to be undercover police officers.
It's important to note we can't hear anything in this video. We have reached out to the sheriff's office asking if officers inside the car identified themselves and if they asked Reed to drop his weapon before shooting. And some additional information for you here. Officer G.A. Taylor is a 4-year veteran with JSO, and Officer M.L. Mullis has served for 3 years. This is the first officer-involved shooting for both of them, and we looked into Reed's background as well, and we did find several arrests here in Jacksonville, most of them being for drug-related crimes.
Now, it was these cops who pulled in his driveway before backing out, then parked blocking his driveway. And apparently this brother was right to go question them because it was somebody who was armed. But of course, because he was a black man and he had a gun, they're going to show pictures of the gun he had and not of what the cops were doing or the guns that they had or how they were dressed or even mention they were unmarked. And of course, Officer G.A. Taylor and M.L. Mullis only got their paid vacation, and then they'll be right back on the streets patrolling like usual.
People living in a Panama Park neighborhood on the north side are questioning the actions of two undercover officers who shot and killed a man Wednesday night. News 4 Jax reporter Marilyn Parker is joining us live from East 63rd Street near the scene of the shooting. Marilyn, what do they say could have been done differently?
Well, Tom, many people say yes, Justin Reed and his family could have called the police if they had suspicions about the car sitting in front of their home. But on the other side, people are questioning if police even considered where they parked their car, which could have also changed the outcome of this case. The video showing the moments officers killed 34-year-old Justin Reed has raised questions as to why Reed didn't call police when he noticed a suspicious vehicle outside his home Wednesday night.
It's just terrible.
But residents in the neighborhood say there is fault to be had on both sides.
Calling the police is something that inner cities and low-income areas are not comfortable with, just based on history.
Raymond Morales is a father and says he understands why Reed did what he did.
I think he did what his dad instincts told him to do.
JSO says the shooting happened during a gang investigation and the officers inside an unmarked vehicle were waiting on other units to arrive. We requested an interview with JSO about what's going on in Panama Park in general. Nothing about this shooting, and they declined to comment. So we pulled up their crime map, and in the last 90 days, you see burglaries, assaults, shootings, car break-ins, and theft, all within a fourth of a mile from Wednesday's shooting.
They were wrong. They could have did something differently, as well as the man trying to protect his family could have done something differently.
Our crime and safety expert says it's too big of a risk for undercover officers to announce themselves when in the middle of an investigation. But who's to say parking in front of someone's home was the only place for those officers to be? I reached out to other law enforcement agencies like the FDLE and the Police Executive Research Forum about the planning and strategy that goes into police officer investigation and if they consider the areas that they're going into or, quite frankly, where they park. I reached out to the FDLE, and the FDLE, they declined to comment, but they said that it is up to the individual agency to come up with the plans for their investigations.
Now, not that it has anything to do with the shooting. Of course they're going to bring up this brother's history, as if him being charged or not in the past had anything to do with him going outside to protect his family. Because some people who were armed were sitting outside, and he didn't know if they were going to run in his house or what was going to happen. And of course, when you have children in your house, you don't just let somebody sit outside of your house like that, especially in the middle of the night and you don't know what they're up to. But of course, when it's one of us that gets harmed or killed or whatever, we always get the both sides were wrong or it's a tragedy, but nobody faces any consequences. Those kind of talking points. Because to them, our lives are nothing but politics. Even when they know they're wrong and the person wasn't doing anything wrong, all they say was, well, this was just a tragedy. Well, somebody has to pay for that tragedy, but it won't happen until we make them start paying. But they're trying to say this brother should have just called the police, as if it wasn't the police who killed him. As if when we call the police, we aren't looked at as a suspect just because. As if people who call the police don't get murdered all the time. Not only that, you don't have time to call the police when you can just go out there and handle it yourself. But they're always going to say what we should have done differently, even though we are the victims. We are the ones that get our blood shed, but we should have acted differently. But at the end of the day, we can't be afraid to protect ourselves, to protect our family, to protect each other, because they're going to do what they have to do to go home to their family. And there's nothing wrong with us going home to our family. America was built off self-defense, and if we want to learn any lesson from America, that should be it. We aren't telling you anything any different than George Washington told America. But at the end of the day, we are all we got. And until we do get on code and start protecting each other and protecting ourselves, then people are going to continue to shed our blood because there's no consequences. And as long as there's no consequences, then the same thing is going to happen over and over and over.
So they can break. How crazy is that? She has on Adidas sneakers. You telling me those are good? No.
Please.
No, you can talk right here. I don't want to talk outside. This is something you brought on yourself. This is something you brought on yourself. This is pure racism. She has on Adidas. She has on Adidas. What the fuck is it? Adidas and Nikes. No. Adidas and Nikes.
We're waiting for the cops to get here. We'll just wait.
I'm happy to have a conversation with you guys.
Y'all
At
are
the
not.
expense of the other guests. Please.
So
No, that's her boundary shit. Cause you fucking with me.
We exclude other people, not based upon this.
Does she have on Adidas?
All the time.
Does she have on Adidas? No, I'm just confused.
you guys can take our reservation. We're being kicked out because he has on tennis shoes. So maybe you can take our 5:15.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, maybe you can take our 5:15 reservation.
Really?
Yeah, we're leaving. So
You got 5:15?
we did, but we're not.
Right here. No.
Look, we can figure something out. If you don't mind just stepping aside, we can have a calm conversation.
I try to be calm.
Let's find a middle ground.
I try to.
We can have a. I'm more than happy to have a
She has on
conversation.
Adidas.
I'm more than happy to
She
have a
has on
conversation with
Adidas.
you.
What's the middle ground?
We speak outside and we figure something out.
You want to look at it? Am I tripping? No. Am I tripping?
It's not
We
about
can
that.
leave at this point. Steve.
I'm more inclined to help you out.
I don't need help. I didn't do anything wrong. She has on Adidas.
We did, but we can't come in apparently because of his shoes, even though, so it's okay. Yeah, apparently it's a new rule.
You can come in if you like.
Are you with Mr. Velardo? Oh, for JVC? I don't take money, sir.
Yeah.
But let me see what I can do.
They can have our 5:15 reservation since we were not able to come. Yeah, I mean, you have a,
Is that okay? You're so sweet.
no problem.
This lady has on Adidas shoes. Yes or no?
Look, okay, I get where you're coming from, okay? I get where you're coming from, but please, we're all
Yes or
minorities here.
no? No. Where y'all are not treating me like y'all are a part of me. Does she have on Adidas?
I didn't see her shoes.
Listen,
She's the one.
She does have on Adidas shoes, so that is something we can understand.
Once again, look, I'm used to
White
sitting
lady has on
here.
Adidas. I have on Nikes. You tell me I can't sit down. That's not right.
He's saying that it's dress sneakers, so I have
Are
to go
they
with what he
Adidas
says.
sneakers?
But Adidas sneakers could cover a wide range of things.
Oh my goodness.
Excuse
Did
me.
you just eat in here, sir?
No, sir, I own the place.
You on the plate?
Yes, sir.
We need
You
to
wear
talk to you.
Adidas, but you can't wear Nikes.
Sir, there's no Adidas, there's no Nikes. We just don't have sneaker. We do not have
Somebody inside has on Adidas.
We
Is that
don't
okay?
allow it. I'm sorry. Like, I
No.
understand. Like,
Does she have
especially
on
Air
a
Force
sneaker?
One, sir.
No. Does she have on a sneaker?
Who does?
This lady at the bar. You own it. Come on.
I'm not gonna have the
Come on.
argument. There's no Air Force Ones. Done.
Oh, wow.
See?
You're a nigger at the end of the day.
That's it.
I'm saying you're basically saying he's a nigger at the end of the day, and he can't be here.
You see what I'm fucking wearing?
Yeah, but yeah.
What you wearing? Back up. Back up. Back up. Don't go at my wife. Don't ever do that. Hey, I don't give a fuck what she calls you.
First of all, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to my husband. I was saying, you're saying he's a nigger at the end of the day.
I don't give a fuck. She can call you a nigger. She said you're a nigger at the end of the day. That's what they not really know. That's what she don't. Motherfucker, if you don't back up, I'll slap the fuck out. Oh, you are.
No, boss.
I don't care.
Boss. No.
I don't care.
Sorry,
I'm not scared of jail,
Sorry,
baby.
sir.
I don't care. I'm not
And
scared of
you
jail.
don't look like you're ready
I'm not
to
scared of
even.
jail.
Yeah,
You can't threaten me with jail. I can buy my way right out. Yes, I'm not scared. Yes,
That's good.
yes.
That's good.
So don't try me.
That's
The
good.
white lady got on
That's
sneakers.
good. That's
Adidas
good.
sneakers.
Go home.
And you're the owner of Umi, and you're allowing this to happen at your establishment. I'm glad. Because a lot of black people come here, and I think you know that.
Yeah.
We've come here and
You say
spent thousands
you
of
won't
dollars.
anymore.
Yeah, we won't.
So
We
you
definitely
can't
won't.
anymore.
We don't want to come to any of your restaurants. We will.
Look at you. Look at you. Look at you.
Sorry, you keep cutting out. It's like I keep hearing like a lot of background noise. And it's like what you want to do,
Steve.
What you want to
Steve.
do?
Steve.
What you want to do? You don't know me.
Get your hands.
Steve. Let's just go home.
What do you want to do?
He's the owner. So wait on him.
Yeah, you should just leave.
What do you want to do?
You ain't shit to me. Huh?
Keep talking.
What's gonna happen?
Keep talking, dog. What's gonna happen? What is gonna happen?
I know. She had on sneakers, bro. How many times you gonna serve me?
Hey, why you want to eat here?
It's not. I'm ready to go as well, but it's just.
I do.
No,
I do.
This is not private property.
I do. Yeah,
What you gonna do?
Get him out of here.
You can't get me out of here.
Get out of here. Would you?
We do it.
Private property.
Well, do it.
Hey, get officer.
Did it.
Where is he? They're on the way.
They're
on the way. He's gonna go to jail tonight.
I don't care. I used to be a DA. I'm a former district attorney. I'm sure I can talk to somebody about it. So
What's the problem, dog?
it's okay.
What's the problem? You the problem.
Why am I the problem?
You're the problem because you're creating this problem.
Because the white lady had on sneakers.
The white lady doesn't have sneakers.
She has Adidas sneakers on at your bar.
I'm not letting Air Force Ones in my establishment.
That's it.
Cool.
But it
Done.
says sneakers.
Done.
It's not done just because you say it's done.
Done.
Wow.
And now you'll be done.
Hey, done. How am I gonna be done?
Because this is the problem.
What is the problem? What is it?
I don't mind. I really don't. I'm a lawyer. I can handle it.
No, it is. It is. It is. He's a badass. Yeah, let him go.
It ain't about jail. It's about right and wrong. Okay. Me going to jail, what's that going to do?
I don't know. Nothing. You can wait by your. No, he's
But
a
the white
baller.
lady got on sneakers.
He's gonna buy his way out. He's gonna buy his way out.
Oh, are you being funny? He's a baller. Is that funny to you?
White lady got on sneakers.
Wow.
You guys are dropping the N-word. Come on, at a time like this, like let's all be kind.
I'm black. I can say that if I like.
How was I just? Did she have on sneakers?
I care.
Did she have on sneakers?
I care.
Did she have on sneakers?
It was dress sneakers that.
It was an Adidas sneaker. Stop
You're just
fucking with me.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Sir.
Young, let him go.
Yes,
let
go
it
do your job here, bro. Go. Go. She had on sneakers. Like, y'all are playing with me. What's the problem?
What's the problem?
Did she have on sneakers?
What's your problem? I don't know.
My problem is you had a patron in there in sneakers. I have on athletic sneakers. She had on Adidas. I had on Nikes. I can't come in. That's the problem. It was nothing else.
That's it.
I didn't say nothing.
Done.
I don't give a fuck who the owner is. It's right versus wrong.
But he's the
I don't care.
I will. I will.
What do you think is gonna happen?
What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Okay, well, if you feel that way, that's fine. I can still film.
You're gonna see some ignorant people.
I'm
doing what they're
ignorant because you
doing.
got
Yes, sir.
patrons
Yes,
in there.
sir.
That's
I'm
perfect.
fucking wearing off-whites, dog, with fucking Jordans. You're gonna.
Oh, I wear black people clothes, so I'm straight. Shut the fuck up! Don't look at him. He's scared. He's scared. He's scared. Look at him.
What do you want to do?
Look at him. He's scared.
I understand, but I can't stop him. If that's what he wants to do, there's no way I can stop him. So,
Y'all fucked up my day.
We're gonna call it an evening.
Oh, he's scared.
Hey, have a nice day.
He's scared. Look at him.
You guys got your footage. I don't understand why.
it's not about footage. It's just about right
They
and
let
wrong,
these
and that's just
people
what
in
it
here.
is.
Look at him, man. He's breaking down right
there's
now.
a better
I got
way
on
to get
off-white and Jordans. I'm part of it. I'm fine.
There's
What
a
do you
better-
got? I'm not
there's
wearing
a-
that shit.
There's a better way to settle
I have
this.
me.
What do you guys?
I'm not worried about you.
You're a
better way to
zero.
settle
That's
this.
what you
Oh,
are.
Look at
wow.
him. Look at him.
It's the truth is coming out now. This is how it really feels.
Look at him. How?
Call it a day.
Get your hands off of me.
Look, you keep pushing.
No, I'm not. No, you keep. I know you're trying to guard your mother.
No.
I'm just trying to look.
I'm preventing an altercation.
Sir.
No,
Sir.
Come on, just go back inside.
Yeah. Look at him. He done exposed himself out here. He's exposed.
I'm exposed.
He's
I think you
exposed.
exposed.
He's
I think you
exposed.
exposed. dog.
Steve, let's go. I am. We going home. Hopefully he goes his way and we can go our way. I'm ready to go as well. But
They weren't getting in trouble. I reported it
I
too.
don't really care. But
I
he's
know now if
exposed.
they keep
Racial profiling at the grocery store.
Chris, someone called the cops on a black man who was just loading groceries into his car. Our Kelly Kennedy has his emotional story tonight.
It all happened right here in this Giant Eagle parking lot in Solon. This father tells me he had just finished shopping at the grocery store and he was loading his groceries into his car when he noticed a woman filming him on her cell phone from her car. He felt that it was a little suspicious. Later on, he noticed that same car following him. He explains why this situation had him fearing for his life.
There's a brand new SUV, Infinity Black, is sitting in the parking lot, and the guy kept looking around, loading up his car with groceries.
35-year-old Philip Evans says grocery shopping used to be a mundane errand.
Like, just thinking about coming out here, I got a little anxious. Just, you know, I had to think about it a little more. Like, do I really want to go shop here now, or, you know, because you know, no one wants to be targeted.
Evans was loading his groceries when he noticed a woman pointing her phone at him.
What does the male look like that's driving? Yeah, tall black gentleman, shorts, T-shirt, and he had a mask on. He's going real slow. He's just acting real funny. He loaded up the car, and yeah, he just kept looking around.
Solon police tell me that woman did call 911 when she didn't see a license plate. Police say she thought the car might be stolen and followed him.
I look at my rear view and I see the same car behind me. So I'm like, does this lady have a problem with me?
Do you think her reasons for calling the police were racially motivated?
Thinking back, the only thing I could think of why she would call the police and say those things is because I was black in a nice car in this neighborhood.
A few minutes later, he was pulled over by Solon police.
Hi, good afternoon. Officer Fictus from the Solon Police Department.
Like, the police interaction was really good. You know, he was just doing his job.
Do you worry about what could have happened if you had a different officer stop you?
It's scary to think about, you know, that just because I was getting groceries and I had a nice car and somebody saw that and didn't think I deserved that or something like that, that could lead to me potentially being shot and killed.
Okay, hope you get him.
I heard the recording and the part at the end where she says, I hope you get him. That kind of really hurt. It's like, what did she want them to get me for? She didn't see me do anything wrong.
The father with this message for that woman.
I hope she learns from it and learns. You know, I feel like we all have prejudices, but we have to, you know, kind of watch that and kind of think on it and not try to act on prejudice and things we don't know about other people just based on the color of their skin.
Solon police tell me they did stop Evans for a license plate violation. It turns out his temporary tag was in his back window, but since it was tinted, it was difficult to see.
We were raised around black people. And all most of them were very nice.
I got everything
you know
on
what?
camera, so you can leave, please. You can get off my property. My dog has never messed with your dog.
You were doing anything with me again, I'll call the police.
Call the police. Everything's on camera. I'll be happy to show them. I don't want to see that dog outside. Well, he's going to be outside because I have a right to have him just like every other person in here. He ain't done nothing to you. He ain't done nothing to your dog.
Why are you so nasty?
I'm nasty by explaining to you that my dog hasn't done anything wrong. You came over here to my house on my property.
But the dog came to my property.
Look, I've been nice to you. I've helped you and your family. I've always talked to you.
You've never helped me and my family. You've never done a goddamn thing.
You coming over here?
All you've done is been negative.
No, I haven't. I'm going to ask you to please leave my property. I don't know if you're just having a bad day or whatever, but today ain't.
I'm not having a bad day, but you know what? You're a black person in a white neighborhood, and you're acting like one. Why don't you act like a white person in a white neighborhood?
Keep it up. It's all on camera.
I don't give a shit what it is
all
on
right,
camera.
Well, you can go back over to your house, and you can have a nice day. That's what you can do. And I'm going to keep walking my dog around this neighborhood.
And I look forward every time You know, your parents were nice.
Yeah, my parents, they
were very nice.
Say the same
Is there a problem to why you're yelling on our property?
It's all right. Would
you come over here?
She got a taser. It's all on camera.
You said what?
I have a small little dog.
Okay, but you don't have to talk to anybody in any disrespectful type of way.
You have a pit bull that came after her.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
When?
It's on camera.
Today, right now.
Can we see the footage?
I got the footage right here.
Let's see.
So when she lies and calls
and also, let's record you coming over here with a whole taser.
Why don't you record everything you can?
It is recording right now.
We're not talking about anything except that I have a small little dog and you have a pit bull.
And you're yelling with the taser. Why?
I brought it over here
for
because
why?
Of the dog. The dog attacked my dog.
The dog's not even outside, ma'am.
He was outside. He was in front here.
He attacked him. Where's your dog?
He didn't attack the dog. I have it on camera.
You know what?
What?
You guys are acting like black people, and you shouldn't. You should act like black people.
We what?
You're acting like Karen. I was raised in Oklahoma around
Wait,
black
can you repeat that one more time? We're acting like what?
I was raised in Oklahoma City, where there were tons of black people.
But we're acting like what?
You're acting like people that aren't normal.
Okay. This will
You're
be real
acting like
nice
people that
when
aren't
you're on
normal.
the news,
Yep.
when you're on social media, get the fuck off
Get
the
off our
property.
property. Get off our
Get the
property.
fuck
You
off
know,
the
I have a
property.
top secret clearance. You
I
know
don't
what
give
these
a
people
fuck,
are?
bitch. Get the fuck off the property.
Go back in the house. Go back in the house. Since we're acting like black people. Right? We're acting like black people, and that's not normal.
Most people don't act like you do.
How are we acting? How are we acting? You came over here with a taser.
I came over here because your pit bull attacked my little dog.
He didn't attack your dog. Not at all.
Your son was out here with it.
And he didn't attack the dog. The dog, I saw the dog. I saw you pet the dog. You
I
pet the
didn't pet the
dog.
dog. I just pet the dog because I wanted to see if he was okay.
You didn't pet the dog, but you pet the dog because you wanted to see if he was okay.
Why don't you record all this and put it on?
I am recording it. You about to be famous.
You know what? You're going to go.
You're about to be famous. Where am I going to go? Where am I going to go?
You're going to go to hell.
Okay.
Because I'm going to sue the hell out of you, both of you.
All right.
All of you.
All right.
Get out.
A Lawrence County man recovering after allegedly being beaten by a jailer. Sheriff Larry Dean announced Friday that jailer Dylan Forbes was arrested and fired.
According to booking records, Forbes was charged with aggravated battery. New at 11, the alleged victim, Jamiraquan Taylor, told Ashlyn Webb his side of the story.
Jamiraquan Taylor was briefly detained for disorderly conduct and taken here to the Lawrence County Detention Center Thursday night. He told me what he says he can remember, but he says he doesn't remember parts because he was knocked unconscious by a jail employee.
And feeling pain, waking up.
The next thing that he remembers is waking up in a pool of blood, in his underwear, while shackled by restraints issued by the Lawrence County Sheriff's Department.
Taylor says he couldn't see out of his left eye that night. It was swollen shut, and even during our interview Monday, he could barely open the eye. Taylor is 24 and says he was diagnosed with epilepsy 4 years ago. He says he's had a seizure since Dylan Forbes struck him in the head several times.
It took a whole big toll on me because every seizure I have is always a bad one.
Taylor's lawyer, Pierre Eiffel, says the beating was unprovoked. The Lawrence County Sheriff's Office did not comment, but a Dublin police report says a deputy claimed Taylor tried to fight an officer. That same report says afterwards, Forbes told other deputies, "I think I could have handled that better." Taylor says he doesn't remember assaulting an officer, but the Dublin police report says he was brought in because he was intoxicated. Chief Deputy Stan Wright says Forbes has worked for Lawrence County for less than a year, and they hadn't had any trouble with him until now. The sheriff's office says they arrested Forbes Friday and charged him with aggravated battery. He was released on a $5,000 bond. Eiffel says the sheriff's office told him they took Taylor to the hospital after he was beaten. His mother, Pamela, says an officer dropped him off at her home around 4 a.m. Friday.
I was shocked. I felt like I couldn't breathe. To see my child face like that, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, seeing my face, my son's face like that. That's something that I don't want to see. I will never want to see with my child.
Eiffel says they'll make sure justice is served for Taylor.
No parent should ever see their child like this. No citizen should ever be stricken, be beaten at the hands of law enforcement abusing their power. So I would do everything within my power to make sure all those who are responsible for his injuries are held accountable.
The Lawrence County Sheriff's Office confirmed there is video of the incident. We requested for that video. However, they said they will not be releasing it at this time because it's still under investigation. Reporting in Lawrence County, Ashlyn Webb, 13 WMAZ News.
We also asked the Sheriff's Office for Forbes' personnel file and for their report on the jail incident. They said they would not release those at this time and would not comment because the investigation is still open.
Why you dragging me? Why you dragging me? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Why are you dragging me? Why are you dragging me? my son and I can record. He's a minor. He's not even old. He's a minor. He's a minor. Free my son, I go. He's a minor. You go to jail. I go. He's a minor. That girl's a minor. Free my son, I go. Free my son, I go. Free my son, I go. Come on. Hell no, bro. Come on. Let go of the minor. Let go of the minor. Let go of the minor. Back up. Back up. Let go of the minor.
We're allowed to record.
Let go of the minor.
Get him here in a minute.
All these cops for weeks. Keep recording this. Yeah, I'm recording everything. Man.
It is. That's crazy.
Yeah, they on bullshit.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. That's fucked up. You're fine. We can stand here.
Two separate traffic stops with two very similar endings. Officers tased the drivers in both situations, leading to a review of police policy for two area departments. First tonight, a teen tased and kicked by Schertz police officers says he's having nightmares from the controversial arrest.
He spoke for the first time with his family and attorneys. Let's go live to Eyewitness News reporter Henry Ramos outside the Schertz Police Department.
Henry, what are they demanding from police?
Aaron and Sharon, good evening to you. The attorneys are demanding that body camera footage be released. They also want the criminal charges against the 18-year-old to be dismissed. Well, tonight, the teen's mother taking it a step further, saying she wants the officers' badges. Let's take you to that viral video that was captured 2 weeks ago. You can hear 18-year-old Zaki Rayford screaming for his father after getting out of his car with his hands up. Well, police say the teen ran a red light, and the Rayford's attorneys say he was on his way home from school and wanted to go to a, quote, safe place, his home, which was about a mile away. His attorneys say, why did a ticketable offense lead to guns being drawn and a kid being tased and kicked? At one point, one of the three Schertz officers tells Zaki's father, quote, you better relax or you're going to get it next.
To be threatened in my own home when I'm trying to check on my son is totally uncalled for.
We know that had there not been their surveillance video, we know that if Zaki's father was not there to answer that door, the narrative would be totally different. There was just absolutely no reason to tase Zaki. There was absolutely no reason to knee him.
Now, the officers in question, we're told, have been assigned to other areas here in the department. The department tells us they're actively investigating this arrest and that appropriate actions will be taken if these officers did indeed violate policy. As for Zaki, he faces misdemeanor and felony charges. We're talking about evading arrest, resisting arrest, and possession of marijuana.
Florida International University's president is condemning a viral video involving a student making the rounds on social media. In it, she is dancing suggestively and using a racial slur, which we have bleeped out. Here's the video.
Stupid, 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 stupid.
The video was posted Saturday and someone alerted school officials about it. The university's president, Mark Rosenberg, posting a message to the students about the video late last night.
I want to condemn in the strongest possible terms the racist video that was recently posted on social media. The message of the video runs counter to the values that bring us together as a community and do not reflect the views of our university. My expectation is that the student will reflect on the message, that the student will come to understand that the hate and ignorance expressed in the message undermine all that ought to bring us together.
University officials say the student's post is being investigated for violations of the Student Conduct and Honor Code. They cannot say whether the student will face disciplinary action.
News anchor posted a picture to his Twitter account showing a racist letter he received from a viewer. The anchor, Ken Body, wanted to take the time to respond to the letter and also thank those who have, as a result, in the end, shown him support.
So if you're a journalist or someone in the media, it really is not uncommon to receive a mean tweet or a nasty email. But this week, Ken Body, our friend and coworker, received a letter so vile, so ugly, it shocked and stunned us. And we want to warn you, we have blocked out the offending words. But we're going to share this letter with you to shed light on darkness. The letter, addressed to Ken Body at Coin TV, was written over a printout with a picture of Ken. Scrawled across the paper in black ink are the words, "Saw your face, noon, Friday news. You had a big smile saying Trump losing. Well, you black, ugly N-word. You need to be wrapped in chains and hung by your ugly black B-word. You ugly Democrat A-word." It is signed with a smiley face. Earlier this afternoon, I sat down with Ken. Ken, when you first opened that letter, what went through your mind as you started to read it?
It wasn't surprise. It wasn't shock. It wasn't fear. My main thought was I was sad that somebody would have that kind of hate in their heart and take the time to send a letter like that to somebody in the public eye.
The letter is so blatantly threatening and so blatantly racist. I mean, when you read it, it takes your breath away.
It did for a lot of other people. It didn't take my breath away because it didn't surprise me. I know that there's that element of people out there, and it's not the majority of people. I know that. However, there's always been this segment of society that holds these racist views. And being in a place like Oregon, which is majority white, you expect to encounter those people every now and then.
Do you think racism right now is being accelerated by our current political climate?
I think our political discourse now allows people to feel comfortable in expressing those views. I don't think that they have been amplified any more than they have been in the past in terms of how people actually feel. But I think they are amplified in the sense that people feel more comfortable in expressing those. And I think that there's a lot of polarization. There's a lot of making people who disagree with you or who are not part of your circle the enemy without making any attempt to try to have discourse. So I think that's a sad state of affairs where we are now.
If the person who wrote that letter was sitting right here on the couch next to us, right next to you, what would you tell that person if you had the chance?
Well, I would try to assess as much as I could in an individual conversation whether this person had mental health issues, and I would advise them to go get help. If not, then I would say you need to know black people. You need to know people of other races because we're all the same. Everybody has the same type of aspirations. They want to have a good family life. They want to be able to provide for their family. They want their kids to grow up in a better environment. That's universal humanity. And I think once we tie into the humanity of everyone, then the world will definitely be a better place.
All right, and we back on the forecast. Now, we as a group have to remember that we cannot rely on our enemy. I know a lot of people want to be a part of the system, but the system was designed to destroy us. We have to start building our own systems to help each other. And we can't get confused like we've never done anything like that before. Because when there was no illusion of inclusion, when we didn't have any other choice, our people did what we had to do. It's only in recent history has the illusion of inclusion affected us so much that we don't think that we are enough for each other. But imagine how we spend all of that time fighting for America, how we use that time fighting for ourselves, the things that we could have been. But still, as a group, we have to put our cape on for everybody else except for ourselves, because that's when it becomes illegal to put our capes on. Right? During this election, we have to put our cape on so no other group is targeted. But then when the spotlight is back on us, well, now we're comfortable enough not to do something. But we have to be one of the only groups that fought our enemy to allow us to fight to defend our enemy. We fought them to join their armies, to join their wars, to defend them, only to come back to face the same issues that we've always faced. But if you want to go that way, at least take the mindset of the black soldiers, like from the Houston riot of 1917. During the Camp Logan mutiny, or the Houston riot of 1917, the black soldiers came together to protect the community from the racist police department. When the Houston police started harassing random members in the black community, the black soldiers had had enough, and they unified, and they went around shooting at, killing, doing whatever they had to do. And in just one night, they ended up killing 16 people, including 5 policemen. And then when it was time to snitch on each other, they didn't say a word. It didn't matter if they thought they were innocent, on trial, or what. Some people who were involved weren't punished. Some people who wasn't involved was punished. But still, nobody said a word because they had unity. They stood up for the black community and did what they had to do. So if we're going to fight and be a part of somebody else's army, we might as well use it for our own good, because at the end of the day, it's still going to come back to hurt us. In San Antonio, a black military vet, Damian Daniels, ended up getting shot and killed by the police. Now let's go back and see what happened to this brother.
We begin tonight with the unexpected death of Damian Daniels.
New at 10, a vigil was held tonight in honor of Damian Daniels. His death sparking outrage and calls for change in the way law enforcement responds to mental health calls.
For the first time, we are hearing from the Daniels family.
Eyewitness News reporter Henry Ramos with their fight to protect those who served.
My brother's never lost a battle until now.
Combat veteran Damian Daniels served and survived 2 tours in Afghanistan. Now the 30-year-old is dead. He lost his life at his own home in San Antonio.
I'm hurt.
Damian was shot and killed by a Bexar County Sheriff's deputy. His older brother Brendan says his brother should still be here.
This is a situation that could have been avoided.
When deputies got the call to Damian's home, they say he was experiencing a mental health crisis. Sheriff Javier Salazar says deputies talked with Damian for 30 minutes. At one point, he says the combat veteran grabbed a deputy's taser and didn't comply with deputies' orders. Damian had a gun in his holster on his hip. He was shot twice and killed.
Damian Daniels!
His death has sparked protest and has raised concerns about mental health in law enforcement.
I believe law enforcement should not respond to calls like this.
The family demands for reform within the sheriff's office and says more mental health resources are needed.
Once they realize that a person is in a state of mental health, I believe the proper mental health professionals should be contacted.
Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf says there are 16 staff members at BCSO trained in mental health.
I thought that mental health professionals should have been sent out there.
He was living his best life and unfortunately was cut off.
The civil rights attorney for the Daniels family is asking for an outside investigation.
There's no way that the sheriff's office should be investigating themselves.
Henry joins us live outside the sheriff's office. Henry, why didn't BCSO send one of those 16 trained mental health deputies?
Aaron, when asked that question, the sheriff says that is not their protocol. Deputies on patrol were dispatched. He also said the deputies that were there did not have time to call up the deputies in the mental health unit. The sheriff also says he believes that the deputies in that unit wouldn't have done anything differently. Meanwhile, the Daniels family, they're calling on Sheriff Salazar to step down. They also hope the district attorney will present the case to a grand jury.
As you can see, and you look around, you can see the flags posted up. And it just shows the tremendous support that San Antonio is showing.
It's been called a silent war. Military veterans struggling with mental health issues. Tonight, the family of Damian Daniels talks about what's next after the military veteran was shot and killed by Bexar County Sheriff's deputies. On the same day that vigil was held for Daniels, the names of the deputies involved in the case were released. They are 52-year-old John A. Rodriguez, 49-year-old Enrique A. Cepeda, and 40-year-old Michelle Garifa.
Rodriguez is a 14-year veteran with the sheriff's office. Cepeda served
served 23 years, and Garifa has 16 years with the department. The night of the shooting, Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar praised his deputies and their response.
The Bexar County Sheriff's Office says the investigation into the shooting is ongoing. Tonight, Damian Daniels remembered with candles and concerns for those like him.
Say his name! Damian Daniels! Say his name! Damian Daniels!
A time for remembrance and a time to call for change.
I understand exactly what Damian was going through. So, personally, I feel that there's more that we could have done.
Stephen Clarence has a tie to Damian Daniels. Both stepped up to serve their country. But Clarence also admitted to facing mental health issues in his past.
So many veterans have PTSD and come home from combat or from military service, period, with mental health issues.
Daniels was shot and killed by law enforcement after deputies responded to a mental health call at his home last week.
I let them know my brother was going through a severe stage of paranoia, that he had a weapon, that he is a military veteran.
Deputies were made aware of a weapon and a struggle ensued before shots were fired.
When I heard that he'd been killed, it just tore me up. I couldn't believe it.
Vietnam veteran Charles Urbina Jones also attended tonight's vigil.
He fought in Afghanistan. He came home, was killed in his front yard, not by a terrorist or by Al-Qaeda, but he was killed by a law enforcement official. That just blows my mind.
He says something must change, calling on people to form committees and speak with politicians.
This does not need to happen ever again. This is Military City.
Today at the Daily Briefing, Judge Nelson Wolff spoke about the shooting death of Daniels. He says the staff with the Center for Healthcare Services should have handled this case.
This is a welfare call. It was not. The guy hadn't committed a crime. He was in his home. He did have a gun on him, which he had every right to have a gun on him. But this should have never happened.
Now, I never understood why we were so quick to join somebody else's army, especially our army meant to keep us in our place in the first place, meant to spread, quote unquote, manifest destiny for your enemy. And even when we do join the military, they don't even help their own veterans. So why would we expect them to help us? But this brother, Damian Daniels, had a mental health history and was a 100% disabled war veteran. And the police were well aware of his mental health issues and the fact that this brother didn't have any criminal record. And just the day before he was killed, the police went to his home and diagnosed him for paranoia. They went to his house and saw this brother in the front yard, and clearly he was having mental health issues. And he told the police that he was hearing voices in his house and he thought his house was haunted. But then the next day, his mom had to call the police again, trying to get him some help. But when they got there, this brother didn't want to leave with them. Now, I'm pretty sure that his mom called for a mental health specialist and didn't think that he would end up getting murdered because they had just called the day before and they had called previously. But this is the very reason why we have to build our own institutions. We can't expect our enemies to come with any kind of sympathy for us, with any kind of help for us. And even if we did have our own and something happened, we would be in charge of our own punishment system so that we could get actual justice for both sides. But as long as you expect your enemy to come and help you and then they do what they want and then we expect them to get justice from themselves, then we're going to be banging our head against the wall. But when the police got there, they saw he had a bulge under his shirt because he legally had his gun. So when he refused to leave, somehow they ended up getting into a struggle. Now they tried to tase him, but they claimed that the taser didn't work. But when they got into a struggle, and even though this brother didn't have a criminal background, let alone a history of murdering, except for when it's sanctioned by the United States of America, because apparently when America sanctions killing, then it's okay. But other than that, this brother didn't have a history. But the police said during the struggle, it was apparent what he was going to do with the gun. Now, witnesses say he didn't pull his gun and he had his hands up when they shot him at the time he was shot. But one of the cops, John Rodriguez, claimed he had no other choice but to shoot this brother.
Forced to shoot. Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar says one of his deputies had no choice but to shoot a man after he became erratic and violent during a mental health call.
That man, 31-year-old Damian Daniels, died outside of his Far West Side home yesterday. Devin Clark now with how that shooting unfolded for deputies and neighbors.
A mental health call to a home on Liberty Field took a deadly turn last night.
Tons of cop cars and an ambulance and a fire truck.
Going to give you all an update on Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar says deputies had been to the house for 31-year-old Damian Lamar Daniels several times over the past few days.
Reports were that he was suicidal, that he was despondent over the loss of several family members. Very recently, there was also some indicators that he may have been seeing things and hearing voices.
Last night, attempts to calm down and help a reportedly erratic Daniels didn't work, despite numerous efforts by first responders who witnesses say filled the block.
And we were leaving for a meeting at 7. We walked out of our house at 7. They had already closed off the streets and they weren't allowing anyone to leave or come down the streets.
Trying to convince him to get help.
Salazar says even though a deputy tried to bond with Daniels, he became aggressive and grabbed a deputy's stun gun. After failing to be subdued by another deputy's stun gun, Salazar says Daniels reached for a gun he had in his own waistband. After refusing to drop it, Salazar says a deputy shot Daniels twice in the torso. Tonight, some neighbors are trying to forget what they saw.
Looked like a body under a sheet. And then once more cars came, then they just blocked the view.
And this evening, there is still debris and remnants of blood outside of Daniels' home. And we know that 2 veteran deputies and a trainee deputy will be placed on administrative leave and then administrative duty as 2 separate investigations continue.
A quote, "We are heartened by his commitment for getting justice for Damian," end quote.
That is what the attorney for Damian Daniels, who was shot and killed by sheriff's deputies a week ago today, is saying following a meeting with the district attorney.
Paul Venema with what the national civil rights lawyer and the district attorney are saying.
Last week, 31-year-old Damian Daniels, a 100% disabled Army combat veteran, was shot and killed by sheriff's deputies outside his northwest Bexar County home. The sheriff said that the shooting was preceded by a struggle as deputies answered a call for a mental health check.
Those officers were called out by the family of Damian Daniels to get him help. A great job would have been to get him help, not to kill him.
Standing alongside Daniels' mother and brothers, Merritt said reports that Daniels was suicidal were inaccurate.
He was not by any means suicidal. He was suffering a mental health crisis. He was paranoid and he needed help.
District Attorney Joe Gonzalez issued this statement concerning the Daniels case. It said, in part, mental health is a crisis that needs to be addressed by people outside the criminal justice system. Gonzalez called the meeting the beginning of a dialogue. The statement continued, we hope to be able to provide answers to the family of Mr. Daniels once we have received and reviewed this shooting and presented it to a grand jury. Merritt is asking for the release of the deputy's body cam video and the release of the names of the deputies.
Now, I know a lot of us want to believe in this black and brown connection and always unify with other groups when history has shown us other groups don't have the same kind of allegiance to us. Everybody connected with this case, from the cops who shot him to the DA protecting him, was of Hispanic descent. But you still get the same results. Because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, we are all we got. But now, to justify shooting his brother, the police claim that he was suicidal, but that wasn't true at all. Even the reports by the police said he told them he wasn't suicidal when they asked him. But even if he was suicidal, it is not the police's job to go around killing people who are suicidal and then justify his murder by claiming they were trying to help him.
Tonight, protesters descended on the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. They want justice for the veteran who was shot and killed by a deputy this week. Damian Lamar Daniels was experiencing a mental health crisis at his home in Far West Bexar County. According to BCSO, he got into a struggle with deputies. Now the county judge wants changes to how mental health crises are handled.
And the sheriff is proposing a plan. Eyewitness News reporter Sue Kalberg explains.
For a second night, demonstrators came to the Bexar County Sheriff's Office to demand justice for Damian Lamar Daniels, who was killed by deputies when his family called to ask for mental health help. It seems they have a powerful ally in County Judge Nelson Wolf, who tonight said Daniels shouldn't be dead now.
Something's wrong in how we handle that. So I've asked for our independent review by our mental health department, and to also come back with other recommendations how we might handle this. Cases like this, I think there's got to be room for improvement.
Sheriff Javier Salazar responded by saying the 3 deputies involved did their best when faced with a deadly decision.
I'm a big fan of using the right tool for the right job. So I do believe that law enforcement is overused.
Salazar says he wants to start a pilot program that would have mental health specialists, not just deputies, dealing with those in crisis. Both men agree it's budget season and they'll be talking about how to plan and pay for effective change, maybe even moving mental health services out of the sheriff's office.
If we do the funding, we're going to do it through the mental health department. The whole thing doesn't set well with me.
The sheriff also said he'd welcome a chance to meet with Daniel's family. Daniel's mother tells us they're still arriving in town and dealing with arrangements.
Damian Daniels was a military veteran shot and killed by a Bexar County Sheriff's deputy just a week ago. Now his family gathering outside the Justice Center.
Daniels' family meeting with the district attorney, Joe Gonzalez, as questions remain about why Daniels was killed during a mental health check outside of his far west side home. Dylan Collier live in downtown with what we have learned about this meeting. Dylan.
And Ursula, flanked by prominent civil rights attorney Lee Merritt, the family of Damian Daniels walked into the Justice Center just after 10 a.m. The meeting appeared to last about 90 minutes. The shooting death of the 31-year-old Daniels has reignited calls to change how the sheriff's office and law enforcement in Bexar County in general handle mental health calls. Daniels, who was armed and going through a mental health episode, was shot and killed by a deputy after struggling with several deputies outside his home. We learned today his family first called the American Red Cross because of this very concern that a response by law enforcement was not the right way to handle it. The family also claiming Daniels was not suicidal and that this was his first mental health episode. Merritt says the family takes issue with the sheriff's assertion that the deputies responded appropriately. Merritt also confirming that BCSO officials reached out to the Daniels family after Daniels was killed, and the family declined to meet with them. Merritt has also asked for the name of the deputy who shot and killed Daniels to be released, along with the full body camera footage.
Now, of course, they're going to justify shooting this military veteran, even though he wasn't the one with the criminal background. And they knew about his mental health history. But they will not talk about the history of the cops that were involved. The cop who fired the fatal shot, John Rodriguez, had already killed another mentally ill person before. And they let him off with that murder too. And this is the second mentally ill person that he has killed. The other cop, Michelle Garcia, had just went to patrol less than a week. And she was being investigated for fraternizing with inmates in her career. But they don't go and talk about the murderer's history. They talk about the person who was killed history in order to justify our deaths. Even if you're a military veteran who served their country. And now, instead of talking about somebody paying for this crime or going to jail or serving some kind of punishment, they're talking about adding more mental health services, possibly, if it's in their budget. But at the same time, this is something that we have to create on our own. We cannot call the police to come and help us and expect it to be okay. That's why when we have domestic issues, we need to form our own groups that we can call. Because far too often, when we call our enemy to come resolve our issues, we end up with more problems than we had in the first place. That's why it's time for us to start resolving our own issues. And when they realize we're starting to do that and we're not depending on them to save us, that's when your enemy will start getting worried. But as long as they know that you'll fight for their election, and now that you feel like you've got your candidate in, even though you've never asked for anything, are you going to continue to protest when these situations keep happening? Are you going to continue to be mad? Because at the end of the day, we are still in that system, no matter who is president. They still control everything about this society. It's time for us to start building our own societies and doing what we have to do. Because as long as we're in somebody else's system, hoping for justice from somebody else, then we're going to continue to get the same results over and over.
What's your name? What's your name and badge number?
Ramos, 2946.
What's your name and your badge number?
Spindola, 2559. Okay.
I'm getting kicked out of Walmart for shopping. Walgreens for shopping. I'm just buying my stuff. And they say that I was stealing next door. I fit the description. Wearing a black jacket, afro. I'm a veteran. I'm not even from around here. I'm in West Covina, California.
Okay.
And these people say I'm stealing.
Not these people, Vons.
Who?
Vons.
So you said they're kicking me out.
Yeah, they don't want you in here either.
So they don't want me here, or they don't want me here?
Both.
Who are they that don't want me here?
Walgreens and Vons.
Who in Walgreens? Is there a manager here? What's the name of the manager that doesn't want me
You can
here?
have their name when we go outside.
Yeah, I could get their name and
I'll
their
have
phone
card
number for you.
information.
Okay.
What was your first name, boss?
Are you the manager that said that I can't be here? Or are you the manager? Are you the manager that said I can't be here?
I had a customer come in who said they witnessed you stealing and being kicked out of Vons.
Me. I was stealing and kicked out of Vons. I've never been in this area. It's the first time I've been in this Walgreens. And she's kicking me out and I was shopping.
Did I physically kick you out?
Yes, they're saying I cannot shop here. I can't shop here. Why? Why can I shop here? This is the shit that happens every day. Happens every day. Bullshit. I'm coming here shopping. Yo, you can't park here. Why? Because I was stealing next door. I wouldn't even go there. That has nothing to do with me. I'm shopping. I just went to get some damn shampoo and shit for my hair. That's it.
You got your answers there, man.
I got a report. I had to follow up on it. It's my job as manager of this building.
So when you, let me ask a question. If you see, if a customer comes in here and so I come here and say she's stealing, are you gonna kick her out too? Just up because the customer says it. The police can come and just kick you out because the customer says it. Did any employee here witness me steal?
Not here. Next door.
There's someone in Vons next door that witnessed me steal.
Yes.
They said a person with a black jacket. What did they say? Describe it.
Hat.
A red hat. Someone with a red hat at Vons. I'm going to Vons. Can I go to Vons? You guys want to come with me? Did you say someone was in here stealing?
Yeah.
And who was the person that was stealing? Did you see the person stealing?
Yes.
They're saying that it was me.
No,
and they
it's
just kicked
not
me out of the
you.
store. They said a person with a red hat.
No.
It's not a person with a red hat. Red shirt. They
If
said it
you're
was a red hat.
videotaping me, get out.
Okay.
Get out.
The police are out here.
Get out. It's not you. It's not him. That's not him.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, what Walgreens is telling us, because we got two codes. So the first one was Vons and the Walgreens. Walgreens pointed him out.
No, he
told
didn't.
us. So if he's unrelated, then you're good to go. There's nothing.
The one that stole from us is a red t-shirt, flannel, camouflage, black and gray pants.
Okay. All right.
And he had a ponytail. You don't have a ponytail. You don't have
Can we
any
go?
of it.
I'm going to go back over there and talk to her, and I need to get her name and all her information
Yeah,
because you see the mix-up right there. You said a red
no,
hat. How you get a red hat mixed with a red shirt? Next thing you know, I'm banned.
No.
Because she said allegedly somebody, you know what I mean? And y'all just come and just take them. And I would have been took to jail if I would have acted any more crazier. Over something stupid. Okay, well listen, this shit needs to be documented, and I'm gonna make sure it does. I need your name.
Did I give you my permission?
I need your name. I don't need your permission.
Yes,
I need your
you do.
name.
That is
I don't need. I don't know why I was kicked out for no reason. For no reason. Come to me and ask me questions. Sir, were you here for anything? I don't care about that. You were dead wrong. So I'm gonna pull you out the store and say you can't shop here. Sorry.
In trouble. He wasn't related on the Vons incident. There was a mix-up in information, so everything needs to be cleared up.
Well, I said I didn't witness him stealing. I
Yeah,
said I
no.
got reports that he was next door,
got-
so I wanted control.
Yes, so you got information.
That's all you need. So next time I'll say she's stealing. You're gonna call the police on her? No, but this guy, he looks suspicious, right? That's what it is.
Now is there's going to be an instant number. You guys have a corporate number?
Yes.
Okay, can I have that? Because he's going to be filing a complaint complaint with Walgreens. Okay. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay, let me get it.
A shocking act of hate in the workplace. Some state employees arriving to find derogatory notes on their desks this morning. CHP was called to investigate, and those workers were surprised to learn this wasn't a hate crime.
CBS 13's Laura Hafley is live in West Sacramento with what happens next in this troubling investigation. Laura.
Well, dozens of people come to work every day at the Office of State Publishing. It's a stressful job. The people who work here are in charge of handling and printing sensitive state documents. But it got a lot more stressful this morning for 3 workers who found racist notes at their desk. They start their morning at 6 a.m.
I come in like I come in every other day.
But it wasn't just any other day.
There's a white an index card, like a 5x7 index card, and it's faced, written side down.
He thought his supervisor left a note for him.
And just flipped it over, and it said, do you want me to say what it said? It said N-word lover. With an exclamation point in big bold letters. And I'm like, oh, I was blown away.
The CHP was called to the Office of State Publishing to investigate.
They were like, straight up, there's nothing we can do about this. This wasn't a crime.
Disappointed with their response, he took it a step further.
Well, I asked them, what about the next time if it's worse? Like, hey, there wasn't any assault, there wasn't any battery, it's not a crime. Take this up with your HR.
Mike Fletcher, a heavy truck driver, and CJ Brown, a warehouse worker at the Office of State Publishing, say they were upset to see the notes.
It's ridiculous. It's disgusting, cowardly, and pathetic.
But not surprised.
Oh, you think the culture out here was tumultuous? You got to go in there. Since 2016, it has been red against blue, which shouldn't be because, this is the workplace.
But he did feel comfortable in his workplace until now. Are you afraid to go back inside those doors?
Right now, no, I don't feel comfortable going in there.
The department that oversees the state publishing office says they have begun an internal investigation. And we did reach out to an attorney to ask why this is not considered a hate crime. He said it's likely because those racist notes were not coupled with something like assault or battery or stalking. We have reached out to CHP for additional information. We have not heard back.
Arkansas Game and Fish investigating tonight after accusations that one of its officers shared a racist picture on Facebook. Good evening and thanks for joining us for Fox 16 News. I'm Kevin Kelly.
I'm Donna Terrell. The post is making the rounds on social media. Our Claire Kreitz spoke with those who are calling for this officer to be fired.
It's disheartening and infuriating at the same time.
Arkansas Game and Fish officer Jay Hagan now under fire, accused of reposting this picture on Facebook.
It's beyond fathomable for me to comprehend how that should be normal or people should assume that's okay.
Brad Betts says he saw the post, which he believes compares monkeys climbing on a car to African Americans protesting on top of a police car.
How do you expect someone to respect you or even try to even depend on you to help them if you're showing on Facebook that you're fine calling them monkeys?
He says it's concerning to see a man in uniform standing behind a post like this.
If it's so easy for you to do something like that, you should not have a job of authority, period.
As the picture made its rounds on social media, it caught the attention of Arkansas Game and Fish. The commission released this statement saying it has come to our attention that an AGFC employee may have made an inappropriate comment on a social media posting. We are currently investigating the matter.
This is not an isolated incident. Far from an isolated incident.
For Betts, he's hopeful Arkansas Game and Fish is taking this seriously, but says ultimately this officer should lose his badge.
It's time to quit just dealing with it and time to start figuring out how to get rid of it.
Details are emerging from an internal investigation in the Scranton Police Department.
Mayor Cognetti revealing 2 city police officers were terminated for alleged racist comments. Over the weekend, the documents were released on social media depicting those messages. Eyewitness News reporter Julie Dunphy live for us in Scranton tonight with more on this story. Julie?
Nick, Candace, good evening. The city has not released the names of those two officers yet, but they were a male and a female officer that were let go from the Scranton Police Department for making racist remarks. Now, they were discovered in August of 2019, those messages made in the years prior to that discovery. Racist. Those are the words Scranton's Mayor Paige Cognetti used to describe the communications between two former officers with the Scranton Police Department. It's alleged the officers used multiple racial slurs in messages with each other.
My stomach churns just even thinking about it.
Those officers, one man, one woman, have not been publicly identified. Both were terminated in June at the conclusion of an internal investigation. Over the weekend, a plaintiff in a civil lawsuit against the city unrelated to the internal investigation shared information publicly on social media.
The documents that were put onto social media, that the plaintiff put onto social media, were something that we had to give to his attorneys during discovery in August.
Eyewitness News asked Mayor Cognetti why the initial termination of the two officers was not made transparent to the public from the start of the investigation.
Personnel issues are something that we don't come out here and declare. When we terminate people, we don't go make big statements about how we terminated people.
Scranton's interim police chief, Leonard Nemetka, says his department has zero tolerance for racist behavior.
The Scranton Police Department does not condone the acts of the people that were investigated. All right, we are not a racist organization. We will not tolerate any comments, anything derogatory against any individual. That's not our practice. That's not our procedures. And if it is found out, it will be investigated and to the fullest.
Now, Eyewitness News is pushing for the names of those two officers to be released. Coming up at 6 o'clock on Eyewitness News, we'll talk about how the city is pushing to end racial biases within the community.
Controversy on the peninsula. A school board president is stepping down after his wife posted racially charged comments about Kamala Harris. NBC Bay Area's Gene Ellie has more from Menlo Park.
A letter of resignation from Los Lomitas Elementary School District Board President John Venverlo. The reason? Racially charged comments his wife Meredith Venverlo made on social media about Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. The Twitter account has been taken down, but people have shared and criticized the posts, including one that says all she needs to be qualified is a black expletive. No brains needed. In Menlo Park tonight,
unfortunate.
I think it's awful. Dismay about the posts. In his statement, Venverlo says his wife expressed reprehensible views he does not agree with, and he is stepping down immediately to avoid being a distraction for the district. Reaction to his decision is mixed.
I think it would have been fine if he had stayed, but again, it's just, there's so many things going on in the school district right now. They really just need to be super focused on getting kids back and making sure teachers are safe. And
he's not really responsible for what she said, but usually birds of a feather flock together.
Meredith Venverlo issued an apology statement blaming a medical condition she says affected her judgment, but going on to say there is no excuse for what I wrote, but I ask for your understanding that my state of mind was far from normal last night. Gene Ellie, NBC Bay Area News.
Late tonight, we should add the school board sent us this statement saying, in part, we collectively and individually found the social media comments posted by John's wife to be abhorrent, and the racially based and gender-based hatred contained in the post does not reflect the values of our school district or our community.
The arrest of an Arizona man for making racist comments is unconstitutional, and charges should be thrown out, according to top constitutional law scholars. Paul Eng was arrested by Scottsdale police about 2 weeks ago on October 23rd. He was seen in this viral video telling two black men this is a no-end zone. One of the men placed the video on social media. Scottsdale police saw the video on Instagram and went to Eng's house and arrested him.
We're going to take you down. We're going to arrest you, Kay.
You're kidding me?
Yep. So
for what?
Take this.
For what?
You're being charged with disorderly conduct.
You gotta be kidding
but can you take?
Under a public records request, we obtained the body cam footage and police report. The report confirms Eng was charged with disorderly conduct for making derogatory and racist statements that could lead to violence. However, the report does not mention any actual violence by Eng. That's a problem, civil liberties experts say, because you can't legally be arrested for racist comments or fighting words in the United States. This has been confirmed by numerous Supreme Court decisions over the past 50 years. The arrest would not withstand a First Amendment challenge, and any prosecutor who knows the law should throw out the charges, said one law professor.
First of all, my constitutional rights to free speech are being trampled on because, hey, I said something, he said something, and so, what are we going to do? We're going to go to jail over this?
A spokesperson for the city confirmed the charges, but refused to comment further.
I look at this as a total farce, because it is.
Eng's former employer fired him and reported him to the Arizona State Real Estate Board. We reached out to the agency for comment. It didn't respond.
Gonzaga Black Student Union members didn't expect during their weekly Zoom meeting. On Sunday, they were met by people making racist and homophobic slurs. The university is now investigating. Two members of the group spoke to Caitlin Knapp about what happened during that meeting.
Malcolm, can you shut up, you dumb, black, entitled?
This is what members of Gonzaga's Black Student Union heard on Sunday. Nearly 10 people yelling hateful words.
Essentially, it was about a minute long of just this torrent of racial slurs, homophobic comments, pornography on their screens.
Jasmine, the group's activities coordinator, was in the open meeting. She said before the hateful words, one person threatened to kill Joe Biden.
It just seemed to be like a catalyst, and all of them just joined in to essentially start yelling racial epithets.
Jasmine said she was shocked. RJ McGee, the group's secretary, said he's become desensitized to these slurs.
I've been called the N-word before. I've dealt with stuff like that before. I was more concerned about other students.
The Zoom host rushed to kick the people out, but the damage to their safe haven was already done.
Right now, things like BSU, it's a necessity. That's the only place these black students feel safe, and I think that shouldn't be the case.
The university was made aware of what happened and are investigating.
The university has told us that they stand in solidarity with us, which we appreciate, but what we're really asking them to do is do an investigation, a thorough investigation, a prompt one, and find out the identity of these people.
They released a statement and said they're going to, quote, exhaust every available option to identify those responsible for this heinous act. If those responsible are identified as members of our GU community, the consequences will be severe. Jasmine and McGee said if the people responsible are students, they want them expelled.
The university needs to send the message to not only them, but anyone that shares their beliefs that hate and racism is not tolerated under any circumstances.
I spoke to the Spokane Police Department today. They told me that they did take a police report. They said that they're waiting for more information and evidence from Gonzaga University. Then they'll look at the law to see if what happened is considered a hate crime or any other crime.
Nobody. Take your shit and get the fuck out of my seat! Oh, he needs to go. Kick that bitch off the plane!
Sir, please you stop. Need to stop. There are children. Please stop. Stop. Hey, that's not necessary.
Take your stuff and get out of my seat, please.
We will take care of it,
Thank you.
But I need you to stop yelling.
She gave me in the stomach. Why are you in my face?
I'm asking you to stop yelling.
Have I committed any type of violence since I've been on the plane?
You're
no.
Yelling and
so
you're
what?
Yes, sir. That's
she gave me in the stomach.
I don't care what she did. You're being
Thank you.
disrespectful.
Somebody get
Shut
this
the
on
fuck
camera.
up for 2 seconds.
I want a lawsuit. I want a fucking lawsuit right now, motherfucker. Call the fucking police right now. I know you saw it. She gave me in the stomach.
Good. We're gonna contact them.
Thank you.
You need to. Here, can you
This
stand
is
up?
my seat.
Can you stand up?
Where is 25A? Where is 25A? Why did she just knee me in the stomach? Because you deserve it. Yes, she did. Because you deserve Did you get that on camera? You deserve it. You deserve it. Excuse me, I'm part West African. You deserve I can it. say nigger anytime I want. Bye. You need me in the stomach. I want to press charges. Nobody. Take your shit.
Oh my God!
You're fucking stupid. This is just a shit to me. Call the fucking police. Go. No. What the fuck? Are you shitting me?
Is there only white man on the plane though? Only white man on the plane.
What the fuck are you got punch? What? This ain't all I want. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Clearly, I just did. Loser.
I know it's smart people.
Clearly, you have no fucking authority. Especially all motherfuckers attacking me. You did shit. Yes, this motherfucker is okay. Fuck you and your job, bitch. Whitey? You would, huh? You wouldn't be able to reach, fat ass! See this fucking threatened violence? That's a felony assault! Assault! Felony! Threat and assault! 2 felonies! Bye! 2 felonies! Bye! Who's next, motherfucker? No, I'm not gonna stop!
Yeah! Get out of here! Yo, they can't go through a number 2 cell somewhere.
It's well, it's easier to be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters. Telling the truth matters. Being a good person matters. And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here. If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happier to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. This is vindication for a lot of people who have really suffered. You know, the I can't breathe. You know, that wasn't just George Floyd. That was a lot of people that felt that they couldn't breathe. Every day you're waking up and you're getting these tweets and you just don't know, and you're going to the store and people who have been afraid to show their racism are getting nastier and nastier to you, and you're worried about your kids and you're worried about your sister. And can she just go to Walmart and get back into her car without somebody saying something to her? And you spent so much of your life energy just trying to hold it together. And this is a big deal for us just to be able to get some peace and have a chance for a reset. And the character of the country matters. And being a good man matters. You know, I just want my sons to look at this. Look at this. You know, it's easy to do it the cheap way and get away with stuff, but it comes back around. It comes back around. And this is a good day for this country. I'm sorry for the people who lost. For them, it's not a good day. But for a whole lot of people, it's a good day.
All right, and we back on the forecast. And I want to say RP to the brother Justin Reed, to the brother Damian Daniels, and to all of our people who have faced injustice in this system. And we have to understand that there's nothing wrong with defending yourself. There's nothing wrong with building your own. There's nothing wrong with looking out for yourself. And the key is to be unapologetic about it. Because it's the unapologetic part, it's the part that put fear in their hearts. And when we're unapologetic, they know that the fear is out of our hearts. Because if we spent a fraction of the time defending ourselves the way that we defend a system designed to hurt us, we would be a lot farther along. And once we get over the illusion of inclusion, we'll realize there's nothing wrong with doing business with each other, with keeping our issues within our own communities. And right now, we can elect a committee strictly for funding and helping grow black businesses, and we can all participate in it. But at the end of the day, we have to want to get out of this system. Because once we decide to, there is nothing that can stop us. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.